Hello and welcome. I am Light and this is my channel. Today we're going to talk about Pinnacle Man, who was a man that was found in a cave almost 50 years ago, and he has finally been identified. Before we get started, if you would please give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed and you'd like to be notified when my content goes up, please subscribe and click that bell button. And there will be a link below to my new Etsy store. My whole channel has been demonetized. So if you guys want to help at all, there's that thanks tip down there below. And you could go look around my Etsy store and see if there's anything you find interesting. Okay, let's get started with this. Pinnacle Man, whose real name was Nicholas Paul Grubb, was found frozen near the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania in 1977. His identity remained a mystery until a state trooper happened upon his fingerprints. For 47 years, he has been known as simply Pinnacle Man. And on a brutally cold winter's day, on January 16, 1977, two hikers found a man's frozen body in a cave below the Pinnacle, which is a scenic viewpoint off the Appalachian Trail in Albany Township in eastern Pennsylvania, about 75 miles northwest of Philadelphia. The authorities performed an autopsy. They took the victim's fingerprints and determined that he was a male between the ages of 25 and 35, with blue eyes and reddish curly long hair. There didn't seem to be any signs of foul play, and the authorities determined the death was suicide from a drug overdose. When no one came forward to claim him, the Pinnacle Man was buried in a potter's field. At some point, the original fingerprints taken during the autopsy went missing, and the copies of those prints were too poor in quality to use for identification. More than 4 decades later, the man now has a name, Nicholas Paul Grubb, and he was just 27 years old and from Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. At a news conference, officials with the Berks County Coroner's Office explained that a Pennsylvania state trooper tracked down the missing fingerprints to help identify Mr. Grubb. The identification brings a long-awaited resolution to his family, the Berks County Coroner, John Fielding, said at the news conference. It is moments like these that remind us of the importance of our work to provide answers, to bring closure, and to give the unidentified a name and a story. The road to identifying Mr. Grubb began in 2009, when the Berks County Coroner's Office first learned of the Pinnacle Man, said George Holmes, who is the chief deputy of the coroner's office. Investigators relying on the fingerprint copies and dental records on file tried unsuccessfully to compare Mr. Grubb's fingerprints and remains to as many as 10 missing persons over the last 15 years, and further investigative reports were in vain. Mr. Grubb's body was exhumed in 2019 to extract his DNA. 2 separate attempts to analyze the samples came back inconclusive. According to Mr. Holmes, they were very, very disappointed with those results. Things changed in August when Ian Keck, who is a trooper with the Pennsylvania State Police, dug through police archives to find the original fingerprints taken during the autopsy in 1977 that the authorities thought that they had lost. Trooper Keck said it was a request from NamUs, the National Missing and Identified Persons System, that set his search in motion. He sent the fingerprint card to NamUs, which then sent it to an expert analyst at the FBI. The analyst matched the prints in 53 minutes. Mr. Holmes had said that the authorities located a relative of Mr. Grubb's who confirmed his identity and provided documents. Officials said that Mr. Grubb's immediate family members had all died by this time. Mr. Grubb had been a member of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard in the early 1970s and spent some time in Colorado. An unspecified police interaction, quote unquote, in 1975 there returned a match for his fingerprints, which were listed in the automated fingerprint identification system. The police are working with the relative to have Mr. Grubb's remains buried in a family plot. Mr. Holmes credited Troop Keck's good old-fashioned police work in helping to crack the case. He went back in, Holmes said. He challenged the assumptions that we had lost the fingerprints. Trooper Keck said he was grateful to have played just a tiny part in this case. He was quoted as saying, "I hope this brings closure to the family." Much remains unclear about Mr. Grubb's death, including why he was at the cave. He said that Mr. Grubb was dressed in light clothing, and there were signs that he had attempted to start a fire, though there was no snow on the ground. There were no signs that he was prepared for the conditions. There was no food or camping gear found at the time. The rest of it is still a question mark for us. Why did he go up there? Why did he feel that he needed to unalive himself? But at least there's closure. And it's so sad that his immediate family members have already passed not knowing what happened to their son or their brother. Thank you for coming to my channel. Please go ahead and comment below. It helps my channel to be shared. Good night.